Hello, Steve Cypress here. It is Throwback Thursday, August 11th, 2021, and I recently received my Alumni Law School magazine. First of all, what a kind of a cool but weird shape here, almost square. Huge width of this magazine. But anyway, normally I totally ignore this thing, but I must have been just totally bored out of my mind. Oh, I remember my beautiful wife Michelle had it sitting in the kitchen somewhere, and I was like just waiting for some food to cook or whatever it was, and I picked it up and started leafing through it. Oh my goodness, how embarrassing. I mean, just look. Now, it shouldn't be surprising to me or anyone else that lawyers are some of the most, as a block, some of the most ridiculously far left, liberal, deranged humans on earth. But like, I mean, I didn't remember being like this back then, but I think just because it came out of a liberal, what would now be known as a woke college, and then went to this law school, and I remember having a few right-minded friends. As I looked through here, I noticed they have their annual giving report. None of my close friends were actually giving to this ridiculous cesspool of nonsense as expected. But I think I just didn't notice it because it's just like I was caught up in it back then. But like, look at it. Do I have to see this? Like, are you kidding me? There it is. Look at that. I have to see them glorifying the smiling face of this criminal who ought to be in prison. And they're glorifying him because he has some kind of new book coming out, and he has the nerve. I mean, these no real questions about any of his crimes or his unethical behavior, but he has the nerve to talk about like, we got to have competent, honest leadership. Like, hello, you've driven that entire crappy agency, as if that isn't redundant, a government agency being crappy and corrupt, into the gutter. So then I went on, and there's various ridiculous nonsense. Oh yeah, the dean is leaving. I read a little about that. Kind of a cool thing about how some lawsuit here with some Jewish art dealers trying to recover some art that the Nazi sees in the Holy Coast. But then look at this. I get to this full page. Now here's an eagle, which is the mascot of Boston College Eagles, if you follow college sports, but also kind of a symbol of the country, and yet they write in really big print this ridiculous crap all over it. Look at that. Oh, racism and inequity have eroded our land and poisoned our people. The day of reckoning over environmental justice has come. BC Law has been preparing for this for decades. I'm like, oh my goodness. It means they were probably preparing for it over 4 decades ago when I was there. All this BS about racism and inequity, and like, oh, come on now, get over it. In other words, people, the whole concept of reparations and stuff, like people who, let me get this straight, people who never owned slaves should pay money to people who never were slaves. Well, in that case, I, being Jewish, I demand reparations from Egypt. My ancestors were slaves and built the pyramids. In fact, I say tear down the pyramids. They were built by slaves, my ancestors. So first, give me reparations, and then tear them down. Like, you hear how ridiculous that argument is, how stupid that is? But then I was pleasantly surprised to see a photo, there it is, of my old property law professor, Professor Zig. Check it out. Doesn't have the long golden locks that he had, over 35 years ago. But my first ever class on my first ever day in law school was in property law with Professor Zig. And there he is. He's still at it. Gotta love that. Although he's into all this environmental justice. His teachings on environmental justice have influenced generations of lawyers and made others like me and other people in that class just kind of roll our eyes. But he's extremely, I'm guessing he was then, I'm guessing he still is now, extremely passionate about anything to do with the environment, which is very cool. And then look at this. How embarrassing is this? These pictures of this fake distancing. This BS, I mean, you got to see like kids, perfectly healthy young kids, not susceptible, 99.99% chance of surviving if they get the flu or the cold or this virus or whatever. And there they are with the fake distancing of like, oh, they're 6 feet apart and they're wearing a mask. Give me a break. How fake is that? In fact, to prove how fake it is, they prove it right there on the next page when they, they show a photo of the very same students, like, I don't know, a minute later, 10 minutes later, an hour later, holding their diplomas, all bunched together with no masks. So here we have the, oh, it's so dangerous, they gotta be spaced apart wearing a mask. No, it's actually not. We know, and everybody knows, if it's sane and has their head on straight, that this whole thing is a nonsense, overblown crap. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep going out to restaurants and getting their hair done without masks and throwing birthday parties and dancing without masks. And, there were 65,000 people, I heard, outside of the arena on the NBA Finals game, I don't know, was that like a month or two ago? Like, all packed in for hours. Has there been some major outbreak I missed in downtown Milwaukee from that? And Lollapalooza, 100,000 people or more in Chicago, all packed in. Have I heard of something going on in Chicago with this virus? I mean, come on, the whole thing. How embarrassing. Oh, and then just a fun trivia tip here. I think I get to the giving report, and there it is. They give the list of who gave 50,000, 25, whatever. The list of who gave 10,000 includes, right there. Do I got it? Yeah. Joanne Caruso. And now her married name and her husband there. But Joanne Caruso, class of 85, that was my class. We were classmates back then. The ex-wife of Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Theismann from the Washington Redskins, who won a Super Bowl, married my classmate Joanne Caruso, who, by the way, we were having fun in our first year there in law school. She was a mini celebrity because she was Miss Connecticut at the time in the Miss America contest. She was I remember we all gathered and we were watching on TV. She didn't make, I think they eliminated everybody but the top 10 like in the first 2 seconds of the show, but she paraded out and whatever, and we all gathered and had a party. Back then, of course, any excuse to get together with friends and drink beer and have a party. So that sounded good to me. Watch the Miss America with our classmate Joanne in there, Miss Connecticut. Later on, she married Joe Theismann. Then they had a nasty divorce, but good to see she's remarried and donating $10,000 this year to this cesspool of crap that is the modern college scene. Anyway. I don't remember if that's what it was like when I was there 35, 40 years ago. I didn't pay much attention to it. Of course, I was too busy drinking beer and partying, because that's pretty much what college is for, right? And so now they want to give free college to kids. Like, they'll disrespect it. Could you imagine? I mean, I'm paid for my student loans for who knows how much long after. What if I just was there free? How much less would I respect it? If that's even possible, and just party my brains out even more. But anyway, that's it for Throwback Thursday. Enough of that. Business lesson. Yeah, there's a business lesson in there. You ought to be mailing out a monthly newsletter. Okay, this monthly magazine they're mailing out, even though I haven't been there for 35 years, I have no interest in anything about them, other than, well, I guess I do. I see my classmates once in a while doing stuff, and, they list in here their accolades and their promotions, and they started a law firm and whatever they're doing. And so they mail this out. Well, your customers, clients, patients, members would appreciate not just an e-zine, that you actually mail out a monthly magazine, a monthly newsletter, keep them updated on stuff, keep you top of mind to them, and let them know that you care about them enough to invest a buck or two into some paper and a stamp and mail them a magazine instead of you don't care about them at all, so all you do is send them an e-zine, which I don't know if BC Law sends me an e-zine because I would delete it in 1 second and never look at it. But this thing, I think I might look at it more often just to be disgusted over the woke nonsense going on there. But that'll do it. for Throwback Thursday. I'll be back with you tomorrow on Foundation Friday. Catch you then. Over and out. Bye-bye.